you know, as you say, with the games coming up, and England really seem to be playing pretty well. They do have the toughest run, as you said. They've got they've got Sri Lanka, and they've got South Africa as their last game. So that's a bit of a tougher run home than maybe Australia with Bangladesh and the West Indies. And of course, South Africa, as you said, has got Bangladesh as well. So it's a really interesting mix in this group. Hey, listen, one final thing that I found, just a little data point, may or may not be of interest, but in England's batting innings, and generally when you look across, you know, each of the 6 balls in terms of where boundaries are scored, you know, there's always a sense that batting teams try to attack the first or second ball to try to get on top of the over and then dictate terms from there. But so far in the tournament, it seems there's been an even spread of where boundaries are being hit. But in this particular game, the 5th ball of the over, England scored 42% of their boundaries. So almost, you know, half their boundaries came on the 5th ball. That surprised me a little bit. Maybe it was just the case that, you know, they were ticking along and then just kind of felt, well, we're in the over and now let's take the risk towards the back end of the over rather than the front end. So just a data point. I don't know whether it means anything at this stage, but I don't know whether you got any comment there, mate.
Well, that's a good point, because generally you try and start the over well, and generally that final ball that you bowl, you want to go for one. So England are probably setting up and going, okay, right. Well, they're going to be quite attacking. If they bowl some good balls, they'll bowl that 5th ball where, you know, they've got us under a bit of pressure, and they'll be trying to get that wicket and probably bowl it in a certain area and then take that ball on. So for me, it might be a set game plan for them, and they might have just sat there and looked at Australia, how Australia bowl their overs as well, because generally we're trying to hit it back at the length most of the overs. So it's quite smart how England go about it, and that's why they're probably up there as the best white form team going around in the world, because they are so meticulous with the way that they plan.
That's right. So, yes, it'll be interesting to see what the Australian plans are going forward. And as you said right at the outset, interesting about the makeup of the Australian side. You know, with Maxwell coming in at 4, is he a person that maybe they should think about floating more so than stabilising the innings? You know, in other words, either being a floater, being a finisher, whatever. And then with Agar coming in, I think that was a good move. I think Marsh and Stoinis in the one side is a bit of a luxury. They both are pretty similar sort of players, and you need your specialist bowlers and your specialist batsmen. So some things to think about there, Brad.
Yeah, well, look, for me, I think Stoinis is going to be your finisher. They don't want him to be batting in the top 4. Wade, I think, is quite wasted, and you're rightly so in saying that Maxwell's got to be playing as a bit of a floater, but this is where you bring Inglis in. Inglis is very versatile for the Perth Scorchers. He's very good against spin, and he could bat out your number 4. And if they get through the 6th over with only losing 1 wicket, then Inglis can go down and bat in the back end as well and just finish the innings off because of that versatility. And I don't think Wade's got that versatility. So Australia got to start thinking about where they want to head with white ball cricket moving forward, because players are in and out. They're choosing whether they want to play for Australia or go to the T20 tournaments. You're either in the Australian lineup, or you're going to play the T20 tournaments. If you don't put Australia first, well, you're not going to be playing for Australia. And I think we're going to have to make the tough decisions now, because we can't have what we've had over the last couple of weeks, where no one went to the West Indies or Bangladesh, and we didn't have our main team there to set up for this T20 World Cup. And it's proving in the pudding right now. We're on the back foot.
Strong words there from Brad Hogg, and I must say I'm 100% behind you, as much as all those seagulls were as well that were wanting to chime into the conversation. But look, thank you very much again, Brad, for your comments, and we will look forward to seeing you for the next game, which will be India versus New Zealand.
Yep.
So, that's the one.
Look forward to seeing you there. Big game, that one.
Yeah, will do. Right, mate. Yeah. Talk soon.
Thanks, mate. Bye, have a good night.
You do. Well, before we get into reviewing the game, I thought I'd like to share with you some historical data that we have from England versus Australia, because the data would suggest that the game should be relatively close. So if we have a look at the data from the information you see in front of you and we scroll down through that, we can see in 2005 onwards that Australia and England are very, very close in terms of any of the statistics that we wish to look at. And certainly, again, when we take post the World Cup from 2016 through to the present, we look through any of the data as you follow my arrow down: matches, wins, runs per over, balls per wicket, scoring rate. Lesser SS means shots that would be ones, twos or threes rather than boundaries, as we see below. And then we look at consecutive overs of 5 or under, less than 5 overs total rather than just consecutive. Consecutive obviously meaning one after the next. And then look at overs where 6+ runs have been scored, 10+ runs have been scored. We could look at 50-run partnerships or 20-run partnerships and so on. Scores greater, individual scores greater than 25, individual scores greater than 50. So when we look across all that data, it is very, very similar. And then when we come to partnerships, we can see again, this is England's first to 10th wicket partnerships, and you can see the averages. And we would see from an England batting perspective over a period of time that they are very, very consistent in their top 5. And indeed, when you come across here to consecutive 20+, that means the partnership scoring 20+ runs in consecutive innings. So again, their top order is very, very consistent. If we flip down to the Australian analysis, we might see that some partnerships are larger, and again, down to the 6th wicket, which is one of their significant areas of partnership, that's where Australia performs quite well. And they have done probably on these numbers a little bit better in terms of consecutive 20+ partnerships for the 1st wicket and certainly the 3rd wicket. And then if we were to look again at the partnership comparisons between both countries, Australia on the left, England on the right, that's our 1st wicket of 34.9 versus 28.6. We could then look at the 2nd wicket. We'll see that England begin to improve in that 2nd wicket. 3rd wicket, Australia is their strength. 4th wicket, again, England very, very consistent, as we said, all the way through. 6th wicket, we'll find again Australia are reasonably strong. So interesting comparisons. And in terms of our phases, we look at power plays, relatively similar, 48-53 for loss of 1 wicket. At the break time, 83 for 2 versus 86 for 2. At the end of the 15th over, across all the games that we've seen from 2005, 126 for 3 versus 128 for 4, and then Australia slightly exceeds that England total for the final score. So on the strength of that, one would have suggested that this game was going to be a very, very close tussle. And so thanks again to Brad Hogg for those wonderful insights into last night's game. And certainly Brad is looking forward to the India-New Zealand clash tomorrow night. And his tip behind the scenes is that New Zealand may get up, and that might mean trouble for India if that was the case in terms of trying to move through to semi-finals and finals. But another tip from us is Ready, Steady, Go Kids. And as we know, Ready, Steady, Go Kids is one of our sponsors. It's a wonderful children's early motor learning growth development program designed in Australia, scientifically designed by occupational therapists and physiotherapists to encourage and ensure that the early movement patterns of young children are very, very sound, so that by the time that they enter school, one, that they're far more ready for school, having been introduced to physical activity, but are also used to being advised by their trainers and coaches about skill development and listening to others other than their parents. So it's a wonderful program, Australian-made program. And of course, you can be part of that program if you would like to become a franchise owner. Please see the details on the advertisement enclosed for how you may go about doing that. So hopefully we will look forward to seeing a number of you making those inquiries into the Ready, Steady, Go program and becoming one of the family, one of the franchise owners in India. So for now, though, it's goodbye. Thank you for your company, and we look forward to another exciting game between India and New Zealand tomorrow night.